the smart TV, there's a waxen lady praising her paper deity, and a man in a toupee with Texas Hold'em eyes. It's dollar signs for paradise. Million cans of hairspray, diamond encrusted shoes, strutting across the platform like she's escaped from the zoo. Come to the man with the toupee and Texas Hold'em eyes. It's dollar signs for paradise. And she read my mind, all my rhymes, visit table turning time. Powers of persuasion, reverse psychology, leaves a viewer spellbound, screw their credit history. He's the man with the toupee and Texas Hold'em eyes. It's dollar signs for paradise. Hey, hey.
Hey guys, how we doing? Hope everybody is well. I'm still kind of struggling with my flu. It won't go away and leave me alone. So consequently, I still have quite a cough and kind of struggling to speak really, which has not been much fun. So I've been saving my voice up for tonight, to be honest. So there we go. A lot of you guys arrived really early, which I'm very impressed with. Thanks for coming, everybody. Seriously, you guys are awesome. So I hope the sound is okay. I'm kind of experimenting a little bit with changing things up a little bit with my sound. So hopefully it's okay. And I hope you're not getting like a storm of hiss or something. Yeah, Martin, if you adjust to 1080, you should be good and should sound fine. Sounds like mine, says Kirk. Yes, that was a song I wrote. Excuse me, that's a song I wrote in 2001, and I recorded it about 4 years later for an album which then got released in 2007. So there you go. It spent a lot of time sat in a reel to reel tin for a few years before I finally actually put it on a record. Excuse me. It's called Texas Hold'em Eyes, and it's basically about the loosely based around certain individuals that you might find on a Christian TV station. And so they're caricatures, really, of people that you might find on some certain Christian media networks. And that's what that was all about. And I was inspired to write it by channel hopping one night and just happening upon a particular Christian station. And for those of you who don't know anything about me, I am actually a Christian. And to be honest, a lot of what goes on in the church, I think, is pretty ripe for comedy and parody. And so that's kind of a lot of what I do with my songs, is a lot of them are parodies or a comedy on characters that I either see or encounter, or people that I have met, and I make caricatures out of them and I put them in scenarios and see what happened to them. So that's what I did with this, really. They are a bunch of people that I saw on this particular Christian channel one night, and it must have been about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had come back from a gig, and it'd been a very long day. It'd been like a 17-hour day. So I was pretty tired, and I was just channel hopping, trying to find something to chill out to. And I was watching this, and it just struck me as being somewhat bizarre, what was going on, and a little bit surreal, what I was seeing. And this lady had so much makeup plastered on her face, so she became the central figure in that song. And it kept on cutting to this particular guy with this ridiculous toupee that just looked so obviously like a toupee. And I had no idea who these people were, so I thought, gosh, this is just right for parody. So I started sketching out some lyrics. And the next day I went into the studio and started to cut the song. And it didn't see the light of day until, as I say, about 5 years later. So there you go. So I'm glad you guys have enjoyed that. A little hiss, not too bad though. Okay, sorry about that, Kirk. Normally I operate with a noise suppressor on my streams, and I've kind of realized, watching back through some of them and listening to some of the music examples, and realizing that actually my noise suppressor might actually be artifacting, particularly when I'm playing music or something like that. When I'm talking, it's fine, but when I'm playing music or something through Studio One, the noise suppressor gets a little bit overexcited, and there's a little bit of artifacting. So I thought maybe I would do this show without it and see if what we get is a good enough quality that I'm happy with, that I feel, hey, maybe we can just go forward without the noise suppressor after all. So there you go. Mark Hosley is here. Good to see you, Mark. He says, toupees for all. Mike Neighbor is here, says, sounds fine. Deitrice says, clear. That's good. That's what I like to see. Andy Arthur is here. Andy, good to see you, buddy. Bobby Booth is here as well. No show is complete without him. Mika Hahn says, you know what they say, Johnny, if they can't take a joke. Yes, absolutely. And fortunately for me, being in the music business for 27 years professionally, and some of that working amongst Christian artists, but not exclusively Christian artists. I work with all sorts of people from all sorts of backgrounds and walks of life, but certainly I have worked with Christian artists, and I've worked with churches and stuff, and fortunately, by and large, they can all take a joke. Particularly when they realize that a lot of my songs are kind of parodying various aspects of church life, which to an outsider kind of must look a little bit weird, to say the least. So you know, they all can take a joke, which is good. There are plenty of Christian comedians around, so I hope I'm doing my little bit. Kelly says, I think it sounds crystal clear, at least on his end. Well, that's good to hear. Andy says, how are you doing across the pond? We're doing great over here, mate. It's it has just clicked over into New Year's Eve here. It's midnight here. So it is now the 31st of December 2018. So we are officially into what we would call Hogmanay, which is New Year's Eve. And there are many and various reasons why it's called Hogmanay. It's kind of, a lot of it is just, it's kind of tradition. A lot of Celtic and Gaelic traditions all kind of mixed together. And usually a lot of drinking of whiskey goes on. But since I have not touched whiskey in 26 years, I won't be touching this stuff. But my wife later, when she gets later on towards this time tomorrow, the whiskey will probably be out and she will be having a wee dram or two because she likes her whiskey. I used to drink it like a fish, but I don't anymore. Sheila's here. Awesome. Wow, we've got quite the crowd tonight. Jonny says, I almost forgot about tonight, was checking out some mixing tutorials. Well, I'm glad you're here. That's great. And I'm sure I've missed a whole load of comments because they are flying in pretty fast. Rayner's here, all the way over in Germany, and he says the piano has been drunken too. Yep. So I'm going to just quickly go up and see what I've missed. I hope you guys have all had a great Christmas, by the way. We had a pretty awesome one. If you are on my email list, you probably got a little short story email about kind of what we got up to. Kelly is digging the song, which is great. Thank you, mate. That is on an album, by the way, Texas Hold'em Eyes, the song that I played, is on an album called Swings on Roundabouts. I know, strange title. Unfortunately, that album is now out of print, so I don't sell it anymore, but I am considering maybe reissuing it. I will have to see about that. I have to look into maybe trying to get hold of the master tapes and see if I can do some remasters. That would be nice. I don't think I'll be able to do the whole record though, because we do have a master tape missing. So I think maybe of the 8 songs, I think I might be able to do 6 because 2 are on a master tape that has been missing for probably nearly 10 years. Not been able to locate it anywhere. So love the tongue-in-cheek aspect of this song. Goes to show you can find inspiration nearly anywhere. Yeah, absolutely. And it was one of those songs, I wrote it in about 10 minutes. You know, and by the time I was done, it's like 2:30 in the morning, and I went to bed and thought, either when I wake up, that song's going to be really good, or it's going to be really awful. And so when I woke up in the morning and I sat down at my Fender Rhodes with some breakfast and started to play it, it actually sounded pretty good. So I thought, okay, this is worth going and recording and see if it cuts. So I got my band into the studio and we cut it. It originally had a horn section, but unfortunately didn't really cut very well, so I had to lose the horn section. But yeah, I hope you guys all had a great Christmas, and I hope that Santa was very, very good to you guys. Certainly was to me. I got some nice surprises, some of which I cannot talk about, because they are highly secret at the moment. But I have some very nice gifts. And I got the usual stuff, you know, the deodorants and the new socks and all of that stuff that everybody gets. You know, I hardly have to shop for deodorant at this time of the year because I know somebody's going to give me some. So, you know, why bother going shopping for it? I'm sure somebody's trying to tell me that maybe I smell or something. So, hopefully not. But maybe I should be getting the message. Andy says, I finally finished the CD I was working on, and she really loved it. Well, that's great to hear. That's always good when you have happy clients. Bobby Booth says, I haven't touched whiskey either for 16 years. Good to hear that, mate. Jonny says, at some point in the future, I'd be interested to see how you have your studio set up. I'm looking into getting a new desk at some point and get some ideas on how to lay things out. Well, if you go to my channel after this show, you will find that there is a studio tour that I did earlier this year. In fact, I have several studio tours, so you can actually watch my whole studio tour playlist. And I have a studio tour from 2014, 2015, 2017, and this year, 2018. And you can see how my studio has evolved over those 4 or so years. And the last one particularly, I actually shot it live, so I did it as a live stream. And I had a few questions kind of as we went there, but normally I kind of like shoot them, then edit them and put them up. But on this particular occasion, I just decided to do it as a live stream because I figured I could just get it up straight away. I didn't have to worry about editing it. So it's there, and you can see how this wonderful room, the biggest room I've ever had as a studio, is laid out. I'm using a desk from IKEA. If you don't know who IKEA is, where have you been? I mean, frankly, the latter half of the the first quarter of the 21st century is dominated by IKEA furniture. Let's face it. What will happen to IKEA after Brexit? I have no idea. I'm sure that they will withdraw from the UK. Nothing would surprise me, to be honest. So, and it's an improvised desk because basically it's a desk, and in front of me here where you are, I have my speakers and my screen, and it is sitting on basically a bookshelf to which I've attached the legs of a sofa, and it works really well. It holds all my gear at exactly the right height, and it's great. It's perfect. Works really, really well. And I have this little guy here, Kevin, to keep me company when I'm working. And he's watching over me and making sure that I mix properly. He is my quality assurance guy. He just gives me the evil glare when the mix is not good. So he's there. So I hope that answers your question. Go check those studio tours out, and you can see how my gear has evolved in the last 4 years. Let's see. Kelly says, I'm still working on getting this drum kit. It's hard being that good of a boy. I know, tell me about it. Martin says, it'd be kind of cool if you could string together the tour things like a time-lapse video thing as it grew and grew and grew. Well, yeah, at the moment they are videos, so kind of hard to do time-lapse when it's a video. And several videos, in fact. But they are in a playlist, so you can watch each one of them back to back if you really want to. Andy says, my wife gave me the go-ahead to build out my big studio. Trying to get the plans now. Any ideas on where to go? For planning permission and that kind of thing, I have no idea. Particularly in the United States, because I know nothing about planning laws and that kind of stuff in the United States. But I know that if you are in a residential property and you want to build it out for part of it out for commercial purposes, you have to go through a lot of red tape, and there's regulations and stuff that you need to meet. But essentially, you want to make the best use of the space and the best use of the symmetry of the space. So if you have a particularly big room, and I think you have, Andy, if I remember from the last thing I saw of yours, I think you have a particularly huge room, as I recall. Maybe it might be worth dividing that into 2 rooms. So maybe have one as a control room, which is, maybe a little bit kind of this size, maybe a bit longer, maybe, 5, 6, 7 feet longer than this, but kind of similar width, maybe, so that you've not got kind of like just dead air and like 10 feet either side of your speakers before you hit walls. So, you know, things are kind of a little bit more enclosed and a little bit more controlled, and then have the other part, the rest of the building as like a live room, or maybe you could partition those rooms off and make several different booths, maybe. Those are all options that you can explore and consider. But as I say, building regulations in the United States, I have no idea. Let's see. But very, very cool that your wife gave you the go-ahead. That's awesome. Kelly says they will own the US, referring to IKEA. Yeah, they probably will, because I don't know if they're going to trade with the UK. Ken Moss says, just don't buy a piano from IKEA. Yeah, you'd have to build the darn thing yourself. They probably put each string in its own, like, package. Imagine that. And, you know, for a large section of the piano, each note has 3 strings to it. So that could get awkward. Let's see. Studio plans. Andy says he has 1,000 feet. Good grief. 1,000 feet. Man. I would say definitely divvy up that room. I would absolutely definitely suggest you divvy up that room. Have a control room. Have an open live room that you can track a whole band in, but also have separate booths as well. So if you really want isolation, you can put drums in one booth, you can put vocals in another, you can put piano in another, if you've got a piano. I don't know you have. Or, you know, a horn section in a particular booth. Whatever, you know, make it flexible as possible for whatever recording situation you might be asked to provide. You know, if you're required to record like a 1950s style skiffle band, well, you would record that live with minimal miking. So that would be perfect to use that, you know, that live space that you've got there. But, you know, if you're recording a rock band, you might want to go for a little bit more isolation. So building a drum booth would be a good idea. Having a vocal booth would be a good idea. Maybe having the guitar amps in a booth of their own is going to be another good idea. Yeah, so think about those kind of ideas. Make the best use of your 1,000-foot space. That would be awesome. Yeah. Yeah, Kirk is right. A couple of ISO booths would be awesome. It would give you a whole ton of recording flexibility and later down the line mixing flexibility. But you'd be able to provide a whole bunch of different options for your artists and producers that come to you. And, you know, you'll be able to provide them with a range of really high quality professional options. So I think that's a great idea. Plus also having a dedicated control room area that's sealed off from your live room and sealed off from the other isolation booths would be a good option as well. So you probably want to look into drawing up plans and maybe taking those to your city council or your town council, whatever, with an architect's plan. So you probably want to look at those kind of ideas and, you know, make sure you get all the legal aspects of it right first before you even start, you know, thinking about building anything, really, is what I would say. eNice43 is here. He says, hey. Hey back. Hey, good to see you. And I think we have a good little motley crew here of individuals. We've got 21 people here. That's fantastic. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Really appreciate it. Bobby Booth is asking, does it still have the kitchen in it? Rainer, you're hilarious, mate. Yeah, Kelly's right. Hit the like button, please, if you like my shows. And you like this particular show. The like button is a good thing because it means that YouTube pay attention and they, you know, my show gets up the watch list and gets onto YouTube's main page, which would be great because then it means a lot more people are likely to go and take a look at not only this show, but all of my other stuff, all of my other videos. So, 2018, I hope 2018 has been a fantastic year for you guys in terms of making music and learning your craft. And I hope that I've been able to help you guys in that regard. I have had a blast. And I've been involved in a lot of things. I've been involved in a lot of really, really cool recording and mixing projects here. I've done a lot of session work. I've done a lot of bass playing for people and a lot of piano playing. And I've even had my clarinet out a couple of times for a guy in Australia who wanted some clarinet solos. I've not played my clarinet in years. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll try and, you know, I don't think I've got the chops to be able to do it, but fortunately I have an Akai Iwi, which is a wind controller. Basically it's a breath controller, and it has the same fingering as a clarinet, or you can set it to have saxophone fingering. You can even set it up what they call an EV mode, which is basically electric valve instrument mode, where basically only the top three keys operate, and it has trumpet fingering, which is very, very cool. And so I basically found a really good clarinet sample, and I used my Iwi to try and fake it. It sounded okay, but it still sounded it sounded artificial, even with, you know, kind of like my my articulations and my tonguing and that kind of stuff, which I could still do. But it still sounded a bit artificial, so I did actually get my real clarinet out, and I ended up doing it on my real clarinet and not on the Iwi. And it meant I had to put in a few hours to get my chop muscles back up to at least a reasonable standard. I would say that it was probably up to high school standard by the time I hit the record button. But my client liked it, which is the important thing. So even if I wasn't 100% pleased with the sound, he liked it. So that's it. That's the important thing. Bobby Boot with a $5 donation. Thank you, buddy. I very much appreciate that. So that was an interesting one. Playing a little bit of clarinet was interesting. I also played my wife's alto sax on a couple of tracks in a saxophone section, so I was nice and hidden away, which is nice. I was playing third alto, which is great. Great fun to be able to do that every now and then. And of course, what else have I been doing? Oh yes, just recently we had my December 10th challenge, which I hope a few of you took part in and got your songs out on December 10th. I'm going to be running a lot more of those kind of challenges next year, by the way, just to give you the heads up. So there's going to be more kind of songwriting and producing challenges. I'm going to have an EP challenge towards the end of the year as well. So if you want to get involved in that, you certainly can. So my plan is to get a 5-song EP out this year. I had set a plan in 2016 where I would have an EP for every year, you know, and then you know, every 4 years I would do a full length, you know, 12, 13 song album. Unfortunately, time constraints have meant I've not been able to do any of that. So I've epically failed. So 2017 I put out an instrumental track called Softly Spoken, and then this year for my December 10th challenge I put out Places and Faces, which was just a single track for the December 10th challenge. So as I say, I'm going to put out a full-length 5-song EP this coming year. So I'm hoping that you guys will all join me on the challenge, and I'm going to document this a little bit better this time, so you'll actually get to see the whole EP production from start to finish. You know, you'll get highlights of that. So and I'm going to do maybe weekly video episodes where I deal with what I'm dealing with that on that particular week for the EP. So I hope you are interested in that. And Kelly Winters with $5 as well. Thank you very much. So that's kind of some of the things that we're going to be doing in 2019. More challenges. coming your way. And also the long awaited VIP is going to be launched in 2019 as well. Haven't quite settled on a date for launching that yet. We've still got some things to do, but we're very, 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 very close to launching it now. Having overcome a considerable number of stumbling blocks, some of it to do with the web server that we're using, and some of it to do with the hosting, and some of it to do with PayPal and setting up payment gateways and that kind of stuff. That's been kind of the challenge. And then, of course, one of the guys that has been working with me on building it moved house at very short notice. So that kind of put everything on the back burner for a while. So, but we're in a position now where we can just wrap things up and get it launched now. So that will be coming early in 2019. And as soon as I have a date for it, I'm going to let you guys know. And I'll give you guys maybe a sneak preview of what it's going to look like and what's going to go into it. So what will be available if you decide to sign up for it. So that will be coming in 2019. What else have I got coming for 2019 apart from challenges and that kind of stuff? And of course the big one being VIP. There was something else, and I can't think what it is right now. So I'm going to go and look over here and see what you guys are doing. Kelly says, I spent a week in a wheelchair in March. Today I take stairs 2 at a time. It's been a strange and good year. Kelly, my goodness. I'm sorry to hear that you've been wheelchair bound, but I'm glad to hear that you are becoming ever increasingly mobile. Enice43 says, is that a fretless bass behind you? Yes, it is. This is my 1962 Fender Jazz bass, fretless. And boy, is she a doozy. She sounds absolutely awesome. And she's been on a lot of records over the last 12 months. And she's been on she has been on a film score as well. So, been a busy little bass, that is. I ain't no more, says Kelly. Man, you have had an interesting year. You really have. But yeah, I'm sorry that you've been wheelchair bound. That's pretty challenging, to say the least. But I'm glad you're up and about and you're taking stairs 2 at a time, which is definitely better than being in a wheelchair. Blimey. Last time I was in a wheelchair would have been, oh gosh, 1983, I think. 1983, 84 maybe. Long time ago. Way in the past, yes. Play some on that bass. Yeah, the bass is not plugged in at the moment, guys. And also the kids are asleep, so I can't really do that at the moment. But, as I say, there's going to be lots of really cool stuff coming. I am also going to be putting out a video every week on various mixing tips that I've got lined up. I've got a whole 2-page document of titles for videos for mixing tips, and I'm going to have a whole bunch of videos for songwriting tips as well, and what else have I got coming? I'm going to be doing some stuff with Dave Vignola as well in 2019. We've got some plans for some content that we're going to work on together, which is going to be great, because I've done a couple of things with him already. I did MIDI Drums Made Easy Volumes 1 and 2, and we were going to do a Volume 3. I'm not sure whether that's now going to go ahead or not. But we're certainly going to be doing some other stuff, and we've got a couple of things that we're going to work on together. He's just about to launch mixingmadeeasy.net, so and I've been helping him with kind of developing some of that. So I suggest you go ahead because I think the doors open on that tomorrow on New Year's Day. So I would suggest very strongly you go check it out. It's mixingmadeeasy.net, and it's pretty much like learningtomix.com if you ever were a part of that or considered maybe being part of that. It's a little bit like that, but it's better, in my opinion. It's much better. It's much more streamlined. And if you've had any of his quick mix series products, then this basically takes that and expands it and just makes the whole thing a lot better. So go check that out. As I say, I've been involved with him, helping him bring that together. Let's see. Eni says, what about mastering? Yep, I'm sure I will have some videos on mastering as well. Bobby Booth says, gonna finish your reviews of the Fat Channel plugins. Maybe I will, actually. Yeah, I kind of did put that a little bit on the back burner because I had a whole bunch of other things that just completely took up my time. So yes, I will get back to the Fat Channels. Raina says Vera, which is his wife, is living her whole life in the wheelchair. You can be glad you can leave it. Get well, complete soon, Kelly. Yes, I totally echo that, Raina. And I think that's extremely kind of you to say that to Kelly. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Because I know that you know, you and Vera have a challenging life, and so, you know, for you to say that to Kelly, I think is awesome. So thank you very much for your generosity there, Raina. Appreciate it. And please do give Vera my love, won't you, mate? She's a champ. She's awesome. Let's see. Jonny says, that's exactly where I was earlier. David just released the January mix, and I was checking that out. Yeah, the January mix is awesome, guys. If you are a member of it, you will see that as well. Go check that out. Kelly's got some suggestions for additions to my mixing tips. Sidechain, miking, and placement. Yep, I already actually have sidechain compression on my list. In fact, that is actually near the top. So I think that's probably going to be the first thing that I do in the new year. The first video that goes up for the Mixing Tips series is going to be sidechain compression, because I've actually had to use it fairly recently on a client's project, which was basically a dance record. And, well, I don't really know anything about, or at least certainly didn't know very much about dance music, other than I didn't like it. I think that was really the only thing I knew about dance music was, nah, not really my thing at all. Not really my scene. But my client was kind of infusing funk and disco elements into this dance record. And I was just like, well, I definitely know lots about funk. You know, that's why I have, you know, this fretless bass behind me, because it's perfect for playing funk on. So I know plenty about funk, and I know enough about disco. You know, the dance things I can probably, you know, I can listen to some reference tracks and I can learn. So one of the things I had to learn was sidechain compression for getting that nice pumping effect you get with the kick drum. Between the kick drum and synths, or the kick drum and bass, you know, that kind of thing, to get that throbbing, pumping effect. So I had to learn pretty quickly how you do that. So I did what you guys do. I went and watched YouTube tutorials, and I went on Udemy and I attended a dance music mixing course. It was all done in Logic, but that didn't really bother me at all, because I remember the days of Logic before Apple bought it. Before it was even called Logic. I'm trying to remember what it was called. I think it was called Creator or something. eMagic Creator or something like that. I can't quite remember, but I used that for a brief period. As I say, before it became Logic. And it didn't bother me that this course was all done in Logic, because I could apply everything that I was seeing being done in Logic to Studio One. And where there was no kind of completely direct correlation, I knew I could work out a technique to do it. So sidechain compression was something I had to learn a little bit how to do, because how it's done in Studio One is a little bit different to Logic, and it's certainly very different to how you do it in Pro Tools. Pro Tools it's done the reverse to how you would do it in Studio One. And as I only have Studio One on my computer, I can only show that. But there are some good videos on how you might do it in another DAW if you're not just a Studio One guy, if you're also a Pro Tools or a Logic guy, that you can go and check out how it's done in those DAWs. Because I don't think there is necessarily a necessarily general consensus on how it's done in, kind of like a DAW agnostic kind of way. It's pretty much something that you have to learn how your particular DAW does it, to be honest. But actually in Studio One it's really straightforward. It's very, very easy to set up. So yep, that will be there on my list. Raina is sending greetings. That's awesome. Appreciate that. So, okay, we've got 15 minutes to go, and I think I'm going to turn the show over to you guys. Let's get a little bit of interaction going here. So, what I'd like you guys to do is I would like you guys to write, maybe type as quickly and as easily as you can, maybe a short sentence where you give me something that you would like to see added to Studio One in 2019. Whether that be something that is a feature that you would like to see added, or some extra functionality that you'd like to see added. Let's get that going in the chat. Just, even if it's a couple of words, just go ahead and type those in now, and I'll try and get through as many as I can. So that's the first little piece of interaction. So we'll do this for a few minutes, and then I've got another one for you, another question for you guys that you can answer after that. So Studio One features and functionality for 2019, go. Diego says a built-in notepad. We already have that. Mika says anchors on events. Kelly says I'd like to see as much interlinking between Studio One and Studio Live Series 3 consoles. Yeah, there's loads already, but I believe there might be more to come. Rena says our device is a little tuned to whistles, always look on the bright side of life. Yep. Better watchful eye on firmware updates, says Mike. Okay, Bobby says he's happy with it for now. Good. That's what I like to see. A little bit of contentment is a good thing. Anyone else got anything? Even if you put one in already, if you can think of another one, put it in the chat. If you've got more than one, that's cool. Stick them in. IMC Music 1 says more mixing features. Ken says a more streamlined way of adding third-party loops to search in browser. There is a really cool way of doing it, and I will make a video on that one. Is there a phase analyzer in Studio One Native? Yes, there is. There is a phase meter. If you go into the browser and you scroll down, it's there under the letter P, phase meter. Mike says banking for VST control knobs with the fader port 8. That would be cool. Martin asks, what's my opinion of Softtube's Console 1? They always put Studio One first in their credits and list of doors, so I kind of like that. Yep. I don't have it, but I know people that do, and they always have good things to say about Console 1. And the integration with Studio One, from what I heard, is pretty good. Sam Lewis is here. Hey Sam, good to see you. Sam says, I want Studio One to read my mind. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it? A telepathic interface between yourself and Studio One, so you could just think, yeah, I want some compression on that upright bass, and I want maybe a 2-to-1 ratio, slow attack, fast release, and I want maybe 3 dB of gain reduction, and the compressor just goes on that particular channel and does exactly what you tell it. That would be awesome. I think maybe that will be for Studio One version 7, maybe. You'll have to wait and see. Mika says, look at the competition, Logic Pro X, and the array of native plugins that are already well-rounded, vintage and modern. Yeah, I think Studio One are coming up with, up alongside Logic. Particularly now that we have the Fat Channel and all of the vintage emulations that you can get for the Fat Channel now for both EQ and compression. You get a whole range of different EQs and compressors that are pretty vintage and pretty awesome, using the state space modeling, which is a technique devised by the geniuses over in Hamburg. As a way of modeling the particular EQ or the particular compressor down to its very circuitry level, which is pretty incredible, to be honest. Let's see. Ken said, saw a post that Studio One got Door of the Year. It certainly did. Computer Music Magazine listed it as Door of the Year for 2018. Beating Logic and Pro Tools and Bitwig and a few other of the larger name DAWs coming up through the ranks. Continued development of their remote apps, the iPhone and iPad. Yes. I do actually believe that fairly recently, I think maybe even 3 or 4 months ago, there was an update to the remote app. So I think that's both for Android and Apple as well. I think those 2 updates were released at the same time. I don't think they necessarily publicly announced it. I think it was what they call a silent release. So, kind of like when you open your app, it's there. There's an update. Oh, great. Okay, I hit update, and there it is. My week says smooth workflow with Studio One. Yeah, Studio One is pretty smooth, but I think there is always room for making it smoother. I think Studio One's workflow has improved massively since I first started using it way back in 2013 when it was on 2.5. Not only does it look better, but the functionality is better, and everything is just slicker, smoother, faster, and sounds better, my opinion. Studio One 4 is everything I imagined Studio One would be when I first started in Studio One 2.5, and I really liked what we had back then, but kind of I could see the future to a degree, and really what we have now in version 5 is version 5. Version 4, not version 5. We're not there yet. What we now have in version 4.1 is really, really cool. That was my phone. Raina says the Apple Remote app works excellently. Yeah, I have it for my phone actually, and so that when I'm doing vocals, I tend to stand back here with my mic back here, and I do have a fader port I could take the fader port back there as well. I've got long enough cable just to do it, but I'd rather do it from my phone, so I can hit record, I can hit play, I can hit whatever I need to do. And it's dead easy. I can just do it from standing back there. Mika says, Studio One needs programmable / recallable screen sets. I'm not quite sure what you mean by screen sets. Would vastly speed workflow. Better compatibility with virtual instruments? Yep. Yeah, I can certainly see that. Certainly if you use something like the Chris Hine horns or East West or the Vienna Symphonic Orchestra, those kind of libraries which are massive and they have their own kind of they have their own software essentially, so better integration with those kind of bigger libraries would be really cool. Tape effect, yeah, that is actually a pretty big feature request over at answers.presonus.com on the feature Studio One feature request thread there. Tape stop is actually quite a high one on the vote count, so if that's one you want, I definitely recommend go hit the vote up button. And I'm pretty confident that it's something that they will look at adding at some point. David Vignola's in the house. Good to see you, Dave. Thanks for coming on the show. And we're talking features that we'd like to see for 2019 in Studio One. If you got one, get yours in there, Dave. What Studio One needs is a pipeline. Oh, that's... I was just reading that and it jumped. Raina says Studio One needs is a pipeline from the mastering section I/O. Yes, that would be cool. I don't know if... Well, I mean, pipeline does exist in the browser. Technically, you should be able to put pipeline in the mastering page, in the project page. Technically, you should be able to use it. I don't see why you couldn't. But yeah, interesting one. Interesting point. Kelly says, because I'm so disorganized, almost a hoarder, I'd like to get my mind around all this file management, but that isn't necessarily a Studio One weakness. Okay, that's cool. Let's scroll back down. And Dave is also saying lock events on the timeline so they can't be nudged. Yeah, that's actually quite a big feature request. Personally, I don't nudge things. You know, and a lot of people, and actually I've seen how many vote ups that feature request has had. And I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I don't tend to nudge any of the events on the timeline. You know, even if I'm working with something that's got 50 or 60 tracks or more, I don't tend to nudge the events. I don't know how you guys manage it, but clearly it is something that people do, and therefore it would be great if they could be locked in place when you're at that point where you want them locked in place and you don't want to, you're done editing. You should be able to, you know, kind of lock them, freeze them. I don't know what the correct term would be, but yeah, locking them would be a good one. Mika says, by screen sets, I mean completely programmable view of tracks, editors, MIDI windows, mixer windows, zoom levels, automation controls, any combination. Well, that to me sounds like you're talking about shortcuts, programmable shortcuts and macros and stuff like that. Well, you certainly can already do that in Studio One. There is a whole bunch of shortcuts that are already mapped out on keyboards. And if you go to somewhere like Editor's Keys, you can get one of these guys. This is a backlit Studio One shortcut keyboard, and it has all the shortcut commands, or at least most of them, on here, so that I know which, you know, what I want to do and when I want to do it, and you know, being able to do it with just at the touch of a button. However, you can also create macros. Now, my good friend Marcus Huskins is awesome at creating macros, as is my other friend Lawrence Farr. He is a legend at creating macros for just about everything, every functionality you can think of. He has created a macro, and then he's mapped that macro to one key. So he just presses one key, and it does like 5 different things. It's amazing. I don't know how he does it, but those kind of things you can also you can already do in Studio One. IMC Music says speed up bouncing of a full mix still takes too long. Well, depends. That actually depends upon how many events, how many tracks you've got going on. Are you bouncing in real time? If you have it set to bounce in real time, it will take real time. However, if you haven't got it set to bounce in real time, it will go as fast as your computer can process it. And actually as fast as your computer can process it sensibly without losing any data or creating any audio pops and clicks and stuff when bits get dropped. So, some of that might be Studio One, but some of that also might be your system that is the devil in the works in that regard. Let's see. Martin's got to run. Okay, Martin, take care, and a very happy new year to you, my friend. Kelly says, tell me about the keyboard. Yes, it's made by Editor's Keys. Go to editorskeys.com and in there search for Studio One backlit shortcut keyboard, and that's what you'll get. Except this, you should get the updated version of this. This is their first generation one. They made one that's a bit better laid out after this, and actually the light is a little bit brighter as well. So yeah, go and get that. It's really, really useful. Helps me out of a jam a lot. Mika says, no, not shortcuts. My comment isn't about shortcuts on macros. It's about being able to recall aforementioned views. Yeah, I still think you could do that with a macro. Raina says, if you use pipeline, you can only bounce in real time. That is correct. IMC Music says, no, not set to real time, bouncing the same mix in Pro Tools. Pro Tools bounces way quicker, to be honest. Really? Okay, that's an interesting one. Dave says, I have the new one, and there's also USB ports. Well, that is very cool. If there are USB ports in the keyboard, that's awesome, because that means you can put thumb drives in there. Fantastic. What a great idea. Yeah, the only other DAW I've ever used any great length of time, other than a very brief flirtation with Logic just before Apple bought it, was Cubase. I used that from about 1988, so kind of like when it was kind of Cubasis, and then it was Cubase VST, and then pretty much Cubase version 1 was after that. 1988, 1989, all the way through to about 2013, and that's when I jumped the Steinberg ship and got on board the good ship Presonus and Studio One, and I've been using that ever since. I don't even have Cubase on my computer anymore. I've still got the discs and the license keys, so I could install it if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I'm perfectly happy with Studio One. And in terms of bouncing mixes, if I was to set a timer and set Studio One and Cubase to bounce the same mix, Studio One would be finished way before Cubase does. But hey, there it is. Well, that's pretty cool that there are USB ports on that Editor's Keys Studio One keyboard. That's fantastic. I'm going to have a bit more tea. Hold on a minute, guys. Any more for any more? Kelly says, I want to set up dual monitors. Well, I have dual monitors set up right now in Windows 7. I have my normal computer screen over here, and then over here I've got an old widescreen telly, 15-inch widescreen telly, which I'm using as my second monitor, and I have OBS on there. And then I've got my laptop over here that has the chat, which saves me having to run Chrome on my computer at the same time as OBS. So yeah, so that's kind of like how my rig is at the moment, and I could have Studio One 4 open here, but I don't at the moment. Kelly says just don't know where to begin yet. Yeah, I have mine connected via HDMI, and my main screen is just connected by the standard way on the back of the computer. But as I say, HDMI output to my other screen. I think my graphics card probably struggles because I'm just using the Intel integrated graphics card that comes with my computer, and I think it struggles. I would had I known I was going to be video making when I got this computer, and I didn't really. I thought I was just going to be mixing and mastering, and that was pretty much it. I would have got a separate graphics card when I had this computer built for me, but I didn't. So yeah, so there we go. Raina says, in Apple I have set up 2 monitors, a 27-inch and my 49-inch TV with Apple TV. Awesome. Ken asks, are the macros on PreSonus Share tab in Studio One browser? Possibly. On the, you mean the PreSonus Exchange? You might find some macros in the PreSonus Exchange. Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to look for them. I don't know if people still use it. Hey, Robert Overbeek is here. He says, a bit late. Yeah, we're just about to wrap up the show, Robert, but long time no see, and welcome back, buddy. Always good to see you. Thank you for coming back, and coming back to the show. Things, as you can see, are a lot better now with how I run the show and the quality of the picture and everything, so I'm glad you're able to join us. And you're here, which is cool. So that's fantastic. So we're getting just past 1 o'clock. I'll take a couple more things in the chat. If you've got any more questions or things that you'd like to see in 2019, I'll take a few more of those, because it is, you know, it's Hogmanay, guys. It's not for you guys. It's only 7 o'clock in the evening if you're in the Central Time area, and I think Dave, it's going to be what, 6 o'clock just clicked over to, I think, if you're still here. So yeah, so it's not even anywhere near New Year's Eve yet, but here it is. We are into the first hour of New Year's Eve, so I am happy to run a little bit later than I ordinarily would. Kirk says, would like to tap your thoughts about writing song bridges, but getting late. Maybe we can address this on Wednesday. Yeah, maybe. But we don't have to. Writing song bridges. Depends how you use a bridge. I've used the bridge in many and various ways over the years. Sometimes I use the bridge as a send-off into a solo section. Like, for example, in... hang on a second. I'm going to have to go to my music library and find the particular song I'm referring to. Which song is it? Is it Paper Deity? Yes, it is Paper Deity, where I used the song, I think I used the bridge as a send-off into the sax solo, and the sax solo is in a completely different key. So I've done that. But in the song you just heard just then, it bridges in. The bridge actually goes into the final verse. And it's just kind of like, that serves as kind of like an interlude, really, kind of like me pondering my thoughts about what's going on in this particular story, and then you go into the last part of the story and then into the final chorus. So bridges can be done in different ways. Maybe you want to go to a different key and then work your way back, or even go up another key for your final chorus. That's a good use of a bridge, actually. To bridge into a final chorus is a good thing. And generally, it should develop the ideas of your song. So, you know, your verse and your chorus ideas. The bridge really should develop that, and maybe maybe kind of use it as kind of like a point to pause in the narrative and allow the narrator of your particular story, if you write narrative style songs, allow your narrator to kind of summarize kind of where you're at in the song and then spring back into the chorus. That's maybe the most common way I would use it. But yeah, there's a good few ones. Stian is here. Good to see you, Stian. He says, what do you make of BandLab and the free sonar? Is it a threat to established Windows doors? I don't think it is a threat. I like the idea. I think it's pretty bold what the guys at BandLab have done with sonar since they picked it up. I think they have plans to launch something else on the back of it. And that remains to be seen what that is. But I think that's their strategy. Hey, Tony. I've been chatting to you today. Tony Stricknert, I think your name is. Didn't expect you didn't expect you now. Yeah, I do my show on Sundays. My live stream show on Sundays at 6 p.m. Central. Unless it's Christmas. Like, if it's Christmas Eve, then I'm not going to do a show. If it's Christmas Day, not going to do a show. But pretty much every other Sunday, you know, maybe 50 Sundays out of the year, I will do a show. Unless I happen to be on holiday with my wife and kids. In which case, maybe I'll do a show. But for the most part, I'm probably not going to. But yeah, that's when I do my shows, Tony. But I'm very glad you're here. And it's been really good chatting to you on the comments on some of my videos. And I want to thank you very much, actually, for the comments you've made. They've provided me with much thought and has given me some ideas for future videos going forward. So thank you for those. Let's see. Dave says, got to run. Hope you all have a wonderful new year. I look forward to seeing everyone soon. Thanks for all your support this year. Dave, it's been a pleasure, mate. We've had a pretty cool year, you and I working together. And really appreciated all your support of what I do. And been very glad to lend my support to you as well. So it's been a great 2018, Dave. Thank you very much, mate. Let's see what else we got. Sam says, would like to see Studio One add a loop generator with styles and arpeggios. Well, there is an arpeggiator. That is definitely something that there is. If you have Studio One Professional, there is an arpeggiator in the Note Effects section. So if you go in the browser and you go up to Note Effects, it's there. And it's an arpeggiator. Very, 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 very cool little device. As for loops, there are a good number of loops already there in the browser as well. So you can go and have a look at those. There's a designated loops tab. Go and look in there. And there's a lot of different styles covered, from country all the way through to EDM and various kinds of EDM. But yes, it'd be good if there was some more of those. Plus, we also now have the pattern editor, so you can create your own loops using the pattern editor. That's new to Studio One 4. Robert Overbeek says, I'm miking my amp and it's a bit trickier than I expected. Can you explain why the wide levels panel that expands says minus 45 dB, but my track buses are coming in at minus 12, which is right? I don't, to be honest, because I don't know what amp it is that you're miking, and I don't know the exact circumstances. But Robert, please do maybe reach out to me on Facebook on Messenger, and we can maybe go into a little bit more detail And once I've got a little bit more detail from you on your exact circumstances, maybe I can help you make sure that you get your mic situation sounding good and getting a good healthy sound coming in. I'd be happy to help. Ken Moss says Happy New Year. Raina says come good into the new year, David. See you. Mika says, thank you, Johnny, for all the help and great ideas with Studio One and the good cheer in doing so. Many, many thanks. All the best and Happy New Year. Very Happy New Year to you too, Mika. Thank you very much for your encouragement and your support and being in my shows. Really appreciate it too. Thank you very much. Happy New Year to all the familiar names and faces here. Can I just say, folks, that's actually a really good point. Every week that I do this show, I can pretty much guarantee that there are going to be a certain number of you here and particular familiar faces who are here every Sunday, and it's almost like you have it scheduled into your Sundays. This is just part of my Sunday routine, that you come and watch my show. Can I just say to you, in fact, even if you're brand new to my show today, can I just say a huge thank you for coming and watching my show? And if you are a regular, faithful watcher of my show, and you have been for a long time, such people as Bobby Booth and Andy Arthur and Martin Weeks and a good few other folks who are here, Mike Neighbor from Peace Valley Audio. I could mention all of your names, but it would take me a good wee while. But I just want to say, even if I've not mentioned you directly, you are all incredibly important to me, and I want to thank you all very, very much for making what I do a part of your life and a part of your routine on a Sunday night. I really value it, and I hope you get a lot out of these shows. So with that in mind, here is what I would like us to do together going forward into 2019 to make this show as valuable to you as possible. What I would like you guys to do is I'd like you to email me at johnny@johnnylipshamstudios.co.uk, and I'd like you to put as your subject for your email suggestions for Sunday Night Live, and I'd like you guys to send me as many suggestions of subjects that we can cover in Sunday Night Lives as possible. If I could have all of my shows kind of directed and driven by you guys so that you get what you want out of this show, and it's not just about me talking for an hour about whatever comes into my head, I think this show would be even more valuable to you guys. So please do email me with what you would like me to talk about, or what you would like me to show you or teach you on the Sunday Night Live shows. As well as, you know, suggestions for videos that you would like to see with some more detailed tutorial videos. That way, hopefully, my entire content that I put out onto YouTube, including Sunday Night Live, is entirely directed by and driven by you guys, so that you get what you want out of what I provide for you. And that way, I think we can develop something that works for everybody. I like making the videos. I like doing my Sunday Night Live show. It's the highlight of one of the major highlights of my week, is sitting here between midnight and 1 a.m. doing this show. For me, this is great fun. I love doing this. So if we can be much more interactive and have your input on things that you would like me to talk about, or things you would like me to demonstrate in Studio One, that would be awesome. So please do email me. I'm going to put out another email blast to my email list, reminding you guys to do it. If you're not on my email list, there's a link down below in the description. Go follow that link. You will get one of my songs from my EP, Belonging to Tomorrow. You'll get the stems to that to mix. And you'll also get my compression video series as well, which you can download and have on your computer to keep, so you don't need to go and watch it on my channel and have to watch the ads as well. You'll get it ad-free on your computer, and you get to keep that for as long as you want. It's yours. So if that interests you and that's something you'd like to do, please do give me your suggestions. That way my content is your content. Okay? If that's a deal, type the word deal into the chat now. Go! Better than football, says Mike. Thank you very much. Mika says, I know there's lurkers here too. I listened to Jonny Lipsham and Johnny Guy for quite a while before started commenting. Was new to Studio One. Learned as much from the hosts and posters. Thanks again. Mika, you're very welcome. Tony says deal. Ken says deal. Robert Overbeek says deal. Mika says deal. Dwight says deal. And Deirdre says yes. Awesome. Awesome, that's fantastic. If you're watching and you've not commented in the chat yet, and that's something you'd like to do, also just say deal. Because I want to make my videos about what you want going forward. Alright, so all those of you that have said deal, email me. You can do it right now if you want to. So you don't forget. Or whenever you would like to. Email me with your suggestions. Even if you've got more than one. The more the merrier. Because then, you know, I then have to be choosy about what we have coming in. But if I've only got only a handful of suggestions, well, I'm gonna have to start adding some stuff in that you may not like. So please do. Mika says you might regret it. Yeah, I might, but that's okay. If I can do it, I will do it. Kelly says 2019 is going to blow off the roof. Yes, absolutely. 2019 is going to be an absolute hoot. It's going to be the best year of this decade. And it's going to be the most successful one for you and for me. Absolutely. I have confidence. I have faith. Raina says, thank you, Johnny, and thank you, friends. Come all good in the new year. Health and luck to all of you. Bob C says, deal. I thought I had checked in. Awesome. Thanks, Bob, for being here. Raina says, like football but love Johnny. Thank you very much. That's very kind. Yeah, football's good. I think soccer, what we call football, is maybe better than American football. Never really got that much into American football, although I watch it and have followed teams through a domestic season, you know. So I have watched it, and I'm reasonably knowledgeable. Oh, my email address. I'll tap it into the chat. Hang on a sec. Johnny at Okay, there's my email address, guys. Johnny at johnnylipshamstudios.co.uk. And as I say, in the description below is the link by which you can join my email list. And as I say, you get Chanel. You get the stems to that to mix, which has a bunch of interesting mixing challenges all of its own, which will stretch you. But you also get my compression series as well. And you get all of that for free. Deirdre says, no football. We just lost our spot in the playoffs. Oh, that's a shame. Sorry to hear that. Mike says, I like soccer. Yeah, me too. I'm a lifelong Liverpool supporter. The reason being is that my grandfather played football for Liverpool. And he is in the Liverpool Hall of Fame. So by de facto, I have to support Liverpool because of that. So, and the fact that he's in the Hall of Fame means I get 1 or 2 perks from Liverpool, which is nice. Eddie Person is here. He says, greatness, Johnny. Oh, thank you very much. That's very kind. Let's see what else. We're coming up on 1, so I should wrap this up very soon. Ken Moss is asking if that's the Steelers that lost their spot in the playoffs. Really? The Steelers lost their spot? Oh, man. Alrighty, so a good lot of you are gonna harass my email inbox now with your ideas, which is great. That's what I want. That's what I want. I want your interaction. I absolutely want your interaction because I want to make my channel about you and about what you want and about what you want to learn. And if I can teach it, I will put videos out that cover it. And we'll cover it as well as talking points in Sunday night live shows as well. So, yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. Apparently the Dallas Cowboys had a thriller today. That's awesome. Rain is a fan of Cologne and Green Bay Packers for the American football, but we're not top right now. Yeah, heard that. Okay, so coming up on 1, I just want to say a very, 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 very monstrously obese thank you to all of you for all of your support in 2018. 2018 has been a bit of a roller coaster of a year for me and my family. We had to move house. We got evicted from our previous place, but being evicted wasn't actually a bad thing. It just kind of gave us the impetus to actually move. We were kind of like in that kind of, we were treading water a bit and lacking forward motion in our life together as a family. And so moving was probably one of the best things we've done in years. And now, of course, I have much faster internet so that I can do this show justice. And also I can get my content out a lot faster because it doesn't take a day to upload. It takes a matter of seconds, which is great. Plus I have this fantastic big space that I didn't have before. So, which is great because I can have bands in here now. Well, kinda. I can kind of have bands in here now. It depends on my neighbors. But yes, 2018 has been a roller coaster, and I'm looking forward to 2019, and I'm hoping that 2019 is going to be a real successful one for you and a real successful one for me, and together we can scale new heights, plumb new depths of craziness, and have a lot of fun into the bargain. So thanks a lot, guys, for a great 2018. My next show for Sunday Night Live will be, let me go check, will be January 6th. Yep, January 6th will be our first show of the new year. I might pop on tomorrow on New Year's Day. It'll be tomorrow for me. It's not tomorrow for you guys yet. But I might pop on for a little bit on New Year's Day as well. Maybe do a very short Happy New Year live stream. So keep your eyes open for that if you are about. If you're not, that's okay. It's going to be impromptu. It depends on who's there and who, if not everybody can turn out, that's fine. It'd be just good to say Happy New Year. All right, guys. So in the meantime, I will wish you all a very Happy New Year. And I will see you. Get my ending screen queued up. I will see you all on the flip side. Take care. Have a great evening. And as I say, impromptu stream maybe tomorrow. We'll see. But otherwise, January 6th. Old Lang Syne. Yeah, I'd love to be able to play it, but I'll get struck for copyright if I do that. Unfortunately. But yes, shall old acquaintance be forgot and all of that. Go look up the lyrics. They are awesome. I love the lyrics to that song. So until then, folks, I'm going to say good night. Oh, Beatrice, by the way, I have a story to tell you. Please reach out to me on Facebook chat. I have a story to tell you about my our previous house. Good night, everyone.